If you're trying to figure out how to use AI agents and you're a business owner or someone that is struggling with AI in 2026, this video is for you. In this video, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you exactly how to utilize a growing and popular tool called Claude Cowork to basically be your sidekick in your business or any project you have. It's one of the most underrated tools that are out there right now, and it 100% replaces a lot of the agentic tools out there like ChatGPT and others because it has so many different connectors and it's so customizable in nature. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what is Claude Cowork, how you use it, how to get started with it, especially if you're a beginner or you're just starting to dive into the space. This video is going to be for you. So let's dive right in. So first, Claude Cowork is a tool that allows you to leverage AI in a way that's very user friendly. And the idea behind it is that you have what's called a set of different projects or different tasks that you want to be able to run. And it's what I call brother or sister tool is Claude Code, which you may hear a lot about. Claude Cowork, on the other hand, is a 100% business friendly user experience layer that essentially sits on top of Claude Code. Claude Code is really meant for like developers that really understand how to use API integrations and MCPs. A lot of this terminology is going to feel really foreign, especially if you're not used to developing software. And I totally get that. And before the last 6 months, I didn't even touch a piece of software. So what I've come to find out is that Claude Cowork is really the same thing. And it's such an underrated tool that really allows you to achieve the same exact goals and do so in a way that's really user friendly. So once you get to the interface, first let's just go through the very fundamentals. Once you go to claude.com, you'll be able to download the actual software itself. And if you do that, you'll be able to completely get to this interface that you see in front of you here. So I'll leave a link in the description so you have the setup instructions. But once you have that, I'm going to show you exactly how to navigate it, what this is useful for, what skills you might be interested in, how to get started with a task, and go through the basic setup steps on getting started. So let's look here at the top left-hand side. You're going to see that there's a couple of different options. First, you can search, which just means, okay, if you have a list of different projects here or tasks that you've kicked off, you can search for them. You can initiate a new task, which basically means, okay, well, let me start a brand new task here in their specific project. If you want to work within a very specific folder, you can do that. You're going to see here that there are certain connectors and skills, and I'll talk about this in just a second, but this is where you can now extend the capability, the reasoning capability of Claude into other skills. And skills really are just predefined set of rules. They are something that's repeatable in nature. A skill is a set of instructions. Essentially, it's a file, and that file has a set of instructions that make Claude become an expert at a specific topic. Now, fortunately, you don't need to create your own skills. Anthropic, the company behind Claude, has all of these skills predefined for some common domains like finances, so like bookkeeping, doing reconciliation, for example, or marketing, for example. So if you're trying to use this for social media automation, they have a lot of these skills fully baked into their tool that allow you to basically plug and play. It's really simple. But let's come back to that in a second. Once you have a new task, you have the ability to connect skills. You have the ability to connect different applications, which can be like your email, it can be Figma, it could be Gamma for like PowerPoint slides essentially, or your Google Drive, so any of your cloud storage options. And you can manage all those connectors and extend them to other things that Claude supports, which they have hundreds of different connectors. So let's not get into every single one. It really depends on your use case and what you're trying to achieve. So let's go back to the very beginning here, and seeing how this layout is designed. It really helps you just be able to kind of type a prompt in here. I want you to help me organize my files. And you can kick this off and it'll go off and do that task. But what's really interesting is, let's say you wanted to audit your social media. I want you to help me create a content calendar for my business that focuses on I don't know, health and fitness. And you can then have it work within a very specific project. And that project eventually, essentially, is just a folder. It's just where you have other files defined. So these folders can be something that are either code bases, they can be folders of other pictures, for example. What this allows you to do is really securely allow Claude to operate in a specific folder. So that way it cannot go outside of that folder and touch a bunch of other files that you don't want it to. So that's what this is designed for, is to help you ring fence it within one or two within one folder essentially. Okay, so once we've got that, I actually just hit my limit, so I'm going to hit go here. You're going to see that it's going to probably kick me out. But the idea is that once you kick off a task, yeah, here we go, hit my limit. You'll see that it's going to start to kind of lay out the different progress steps on the top right-hand side here. So on the right-hand side, you'll see it says progress. And what Claude's really good at is you can give it a pretty ambiguous task. You can say, I want you to help me create my content calendar. Then it's going to realize, okay, well, that means I need to see what assets we have to work with. I need to define the schedule. I need to figure out what post is going to go where. It'll create that progress or a to-do list to achieve the goal you set in the prompt. And honestly, the more vague the prompt, the better it's going to be at figuring out how to achieve that goal. You could be really specific too if you want to. If you know enough about what you want, then by all means, feel free to give it really specific instructions here. But if you're still kind of brainstorming, you want to improve your social media, for example, but you don't know where to get started, you just plug and play and put in, a pretty generic prompt, and then it's going to then walk you through exactly how it's thinking about it, and then you can then adjust it from there. Another really cool feature is that you can speak to it too. So you can use this little recorder button here on the bottom right hand side, and you're going to see here that as I'm speaking, it's going to record. I like this feature a lot because I don't need to sit here and type everything. I can just talk to my AI and have it like understand what I want, because I can talk faster than I can type. So what's really good is you can leverage the video tool, not the video tool, the voice recorder tool down here on the bottom right hand side to explain what you're looking for. I want you to help me create my content calendar for health and fitness. I have 10 pictures of me, lifting some weights. I have another 10 pictures of me taking pictures of my lunch and breakfast. That's all I got to work with. And you can just spit. You just go at it and you just tell it what exactly you want. Let's go ahead and delete that. You're going to see here that when you work within a folder, it's going to tell you what files it's working with. It's going to understand if there's any other tools that you've connected to Claude Cowork as well. But this is the main view here, and this is where you're going to live for that specific task or project. And this can actually be even turned into a skill. So let's say you learn how to manage your content calendar and you want to turn it to something really repeatable. You can even turn that into a skill. And a skill really essentially is a set of predefined rules or instructions that allow Claude to repeat the same workflow, but it has reasoning baked into it. So it's almost like a human. If a human goes through and audits their social media and says, well, I need to post more pictures of breakfast, for example, and that's something that you repeatedly do within your business, you can then turn that into a workflow, and that workflow can repeat itself. And then you just say, hey, by the way, use the /health skill, health, or whatever it is, and you can call it whatever you want. And it's going to understand that you have some history here on how you typically would like to execute that certain task. So that's really where these skills get really powerful, because they can learn and improve over time. And the more you use skills to predefine a set of instructions, it's going to get really smart at being able to replicate that into the future. And then you can then make adjustments. You can make it do other types of things and improve on it over time. Okay, so this is the main window. You understand how to utilize the features. You'll see here you can also schedule certain tasks as well. So if there's something that you always want the Claude to be able to do on a recurring basis, every Monday, I want you to look at my emails at 8 a.m. and remove any junk emails. I have a ton of emails that come in. What I like to do is go to new task. You can say, email dash cleanup, and this is something you can just call it whatever you want. Clean up my junk emails in my inbox. And then you can give it a prompt. You can say every Monday, and by the way, you can, you don't have to put Monday in there because you can then schedule it for a certain time. I want you to look at my inbox and automatically determine what is junk based on what appears to be marketing emails in my inbox and automatically archive them. So these scheduled tasks get really interesting because what you can do is you can have it run on a recurring basis. So as long as your computer is running, this basically becomes an automatic Cowork tool that can run a set of rules automatically on some predefined schedule. And you can be really specific, or you can be pretty vague too and let Claude figure it out. The more specific you are, the better your result's going to be. So you generally want to make sure that you're including as much detail as possible. So you may say, I might get emails from, my mortgage company. I don't want you to delete those. I don't want you to delete my Amazon orders, for example. But if I get, a coupon, or, if I get like a promo email from Kohl's or, one of those like department stores, and I really don't want those because they keep clouding my inbox, then you can specify that. So the more specific you are, the better, especially if you understand exactly what you want. The prompt is everything. The prompt is going to allow you to specify to the agent what you want, and that agent will then be able to go off and take your rules, and it's going to keep those rules in mind as it's executing the task. So the prompt's really important. The name and the description, that's really just for your own self, so that way you understand what those tasks are. But Claude's going to read and understand the prompt, which is really key. And then here you can define the frequency. You want this to happen on a daily basis, a weekly basis, an hourly basis. You can really define all of that. You can choose what model. Now, this is where some people get confused. The most expensive model is Claude Opus 4.6. And don't let these names get you confused. They're just different models for different purposes. Opus really just means that's right now Anthropic, which is the company that built Cowork. That is their most highest intelligent model that can do really complicated things. It's really good at planning tasks. It's really good at reasoning. Whereas like Sonnet is more of like the workhorse. It's the one that can run most efficiently. It can code. It can execute tasks. So Opus is like the brain. Sonnet is like the hands and feet that actually know how to do the work. It's getting its instructions from Opus, and then it's going off and executing. Haiku is more of like the model that's really good at like answering basic questions. Hey, what day is it today? Yeah, you wouldn't want to ask Opus 4.6 what day it is today. Something that's simple in nature, because that's going to burn your what's called tokens. Tokens are really just the currency of these AI models. Haiku is good for like really basic questions, things that you don't really need a sophisticated answer for. They're just really descriptive in nature. What day is it today? What time is it? How many days in a week? Really simple things that you don't want to put a lot of effort or power or tokens behind. That's how I would think about it. Opus is more the brain. Sonnet is more like the hands and feet, the ones that the model that can really execute the task based on the plan. And then Haiku is more of like, the assistant that can answer really basic things. It's not something that you want to have plan or execute your task. It's really good for just answering basic questions. So depending on how complex your prompt is, if this is something that, it might require some reasoning, then I would probably go for something in the middle, like Sonnet. If you wanted to say like, hey, every Monday send me an email on, how many junk emails I had today, then you could probably do like Haiku, I would say. Like it really depends on how complex your prompt is. But when in doubt, just go with Sonnet. It's the simplest one. It does 99% pretty pretty good results. So you can't go wrong with that. And then the folder to work when, if you have a specific folder you want to operate in, by all means, click on that, and then you can save the task. Then you'll see this thing here that says you need to keep your computer awake, which is really key because if your computer is off, it's not going to be able to run the task. So this is not sitting on some cloud server somewhere. It's sitting purely on your computer, and it allows you to keep this on or off. So if you want to keep your computer on, then it'll be able to execute these tasks. So if your computer, so what's really important is if your computer like goes to sleep or has a screensaver, or like if the power cuts off, then it's going to impact these tasks. So you want to make sure that you have this toggle on, keep your computer awake, prevent it from going to sleep, so that way it makes sure that these tasks are really reliable. Okay, let's move on now. We've got projects. Projects are really just an organization of different tasks that are related together. So a project is, if you run a health and fitness company, like let's say our example here, health and fitness could be, okay, I manage social media for that. I might have, a content calendar. I have new pictures I'm taking. A project is really just an organization of different tasks. It can have multiple different tasks baked within it. And what's really good about projects is you can define certain goals and rules for projects, so that way all the tasks underneath it can operate according to those guidelines. So if your goal is to grow your follower account by 1,000 followers this month, which is my goal, which by the way, hit like and subscribe so you can help me out here with the algorithm, click on new project, and new project will allow you to define a set of instructions here that tell it what exactly is the goal of this project. Grow follower account from 0 to 1,000. That's the overall goal for my health and wellness company. And then what you can do is you can add files here too. You can upload like your logo. You can upload your brand guidelines, whatever you want. So that way all the agents that are operating under this project, they know what like the North Star of the business looks like. They know that there are certain like icons they should be using, certain like font colors, certain logos or banners or anything you have in your business, like certain guidelines you want them to follow. You can upload those in the instructions, or if they're physical files, you put them here and then you just drag and drop them, which makes this really cool. Again, project location is really just a folder where they all sit, and that can be locally on your computer. All right, so let's move on now. We went through the schedule task option. We went through projects. Dispatch is really interesting. Dispatch is a little bit more of a sophisticated tool now that allows you to set off a task, and you can do it from your mobile phone too. So if you have the Claude app on your phone, it looks like the same exact, I don't know if you can see that right there. It looks exactly like the Claude desktop does. And what's really cool is you can use your phone to have Claude execute a task on your computer. So I can say, hey, I forgot that photo of, that PDF I left on my computer. And would you be able to email that to me? Now, if Claude has access to your email, which you've set up in the connectors, which we'll get to in just a second, and you had that PDF, let's say put together a PDF of like a content calendar, and it's sitting on your computer, you can say, hey, Claude, can you email me that PDF? And then what Claude will do is it'll get that instruction, it'll read your computer, and it'll go find it, and then it'll email you, which is really cool. So like if you're working on a computer, but then you have Claude on your mobile phone, you can essentially automatically dispatch, and that's the tool is called Dispatch, a instruction to your computer to go off and do that task for it. This is really good for things that you want to be able to run autonomously in the background too. So if you want to schedule a new task too, let's say you thought about it after you left your desk. Like for me specifically, I do better when I step away from my computer. Sometimes I don't get good thoughts until I like leave, and then I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to do that XYZ thing. I'll go into my phone and go to Dispatch on the mobile app, and then Claude Cowork will go off and do that task for me. So it's a really, really cool way to get the benefit of real, true personal agent, but in a way that's really user friendly. This tool, Dispatch, recently just came out only because of a company called OpenClaw. and everyone kind of went viral about it. And the reason why that went viral is because it was the first time in the industry where people wanted to use AI as a personal assistant. And so that really is what sparked a lot of the variety around ensuring that these AI agents were specific to people and what their needs could be. So if you wanted, instead of like you talking to a chatbot and you had to sit at your desk, but it couldn't really do anything beyond like, answer you and maybe like put together a PDF, great. But if you want to have it execute tasks for you, like check your email and do all these other things, you need to be able to access it from anywhere, not just from your desktop. So that's really where OpenClaw and some of these like tools started to get really popular. And so Anthropic, the company, decided to create Dispatch, which was a way for them to kind of respond to that user need. All right, I'm going to go through a couple more here. This video is getting a little bit long. By the way, hit like, subscribe. If this is something that's interesting to you, you like content like this to help you get more aware of how these AI tools work in 2026, I want you to hit like or leave me a comment so that way I know what kind of content is resonating with you guys. It really helps me figure out what kind of to focus on. I've created a couple other videos in this channel, and I'm realizing the Cowork one is really what you guys prefer. So please feel free to leave a like or a comment so that way I can understand what content resonates with you guys. Let's also go into a couple more ideas. So the ideas tab here within Cowork, this is really where you can start to get really creative around different options that Cowork offers. Now, depending on what your role is, what you're trying to achieve with the co-working tool, you can see here that there are a number of different ways you can kind of string together some different functionality. So let's say you wanted to have, let's just pick one here. You want to analyze your competitors, for example. That's part of the marketing skill. If you click on Analyze Competitors, it's going to run what's called the competitive analysis skill. And again, I'm going to hit my limit here, which is kind of frustrating for this demo. But what these skills do are they're pre-packaged in set of instructions that allow you to analyze your competitors. So if you're in the health and wellness space, for example, you can say, you can use / competitive analysis. I can't type. And you can say, wow, so look at this now. So they actually even offer you a pre-built prompt. You don't even write the prompt anymore. You can just keep that prompt there. You see how it just did that? Analyze competitors with feature comparison, matrices, positioning analysis, strategic implications. You can just hit go. And like, it's gonna basically already show you what that skill can do. You can do things like research, create a competitive brief, show me all the different health and wellness companies in my local area. And then you just type in your local area and say, I live in New York, New Jersey, wherever. And it's going to really find a way to kind of ring fence all the companies based on the internet. It's going to go off and search the internet and provide you a PDF brief based on your positioning against that specific domain. So this becomes really powerful for companies that want to get ahead in the AI era, but don't have the time to sit and research and figure out who all my competitors are. This is a really, really powerful way to position your business for the future because you understand where everyone is in your industry, and you can really find a way to start to do the research, but in an automatic way. Like, why wouldn't you use that if you could and make your business operate at a higher level? A couple other things here we'll go through as well is like the skills we already went through. The connectors are just other applications you can connect. Plugins are something really interesting because what plugins do are they allow you to kind of ring fence or consolidate a skill, which is like a set of instructions with tools. So a plugin, just like the word sounds, allows you to like plug and play a specific level of expertise within your specific Claude session. So for example, a plugin is finance. Let's just use finance as an example. You can prepare month-end journal entries, and those journal entries allow you to connect to your underlying accounting application like QuickBooks. So what you would do is you would use the plugin that's already been pre-built, by the way, to prepare journal entries for your business, and then you can give it a connector. Let's say we can put in, QuickBooks. We can put in any one of these like different integrations that they have here. let's try to find one that's relevant for this specific scenario. We can use QuickBooks. There we go. So what it can do is you can say, run all my journal entries for that specific journal entry prep. And you're going to see here, like all these journal entries will have all the pre-built instructions that tell Claude how to become an expert in this specific domain. And then the connectors will allow you to then run that against your QuickBooks account, for example. And it will go off and connect to QuickBooks, create the journal entry, and then you basically just have a bookkeeper automatically doing your books, but it's really you using Cowork. So I personally fired my bookkeeper because these tools now allow me to save close to $500 a month. I was paying a bookkeeper $500 per month to do all my books for me. And I mean, unfortunately, they had to go and pull statements and then compare side by side. Claude can do this now automatically. And so this is where these tools start to get really powerful, because you can then start to insource some of these capabilities that AI can automatically do for your business. So this is really where it becomes really powerful. Sales, same thing. You can have it research a prospect. You can draft personalized messages. You can have it look at your LinkedIn and provide ways to improve it. So that's everything here that Cowork offers. These tools are being updated every single week, if not every couple of days. There's always a new feature out there. But I think that if there is a time to start to get really familiar with these types of tools, it is definitely now, because the way that this industry is moving is these agents can now do a lot of the work they used to require a lot of different teams to have to coordinate on a specific task. So AI agents are the future. They're cheaper than human labor. I hate to say that, but and they can operate faster without having you having to pay for health insurance for an employee, or you having to consider what time they're working if they're on a holiday or weekends. AI agents do not sleep. And if you use scheduled tasks, you can start to realize the power of these tools, because these tools can start to compound. And if you have a bunch of agents working in your business and doing all these different things like finance or marketing, for example, this becomes really powerful. I operate as a solo founder in my company. I also operate with my family for a photo video media company. And we've always run lean. We've used virtual assistants in the past. And unfortunately, there's nothing that compares to technology like this. So when this came out, I'm like, wait a second, this is really powerful. And I started to realize that for those that understand how to leverage it and get the right practice with it, we'll win. That's all I got for this video. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, you like the content, leave a like or a comment, and I will love to do more of these for you guys in a way I can help. All right, God bless.